chefs, today we do another podcast episode in Jackson. I'm excited about this one today. I don't know what Chef Clark is going to come up with, but he is one of the chefs that I reached out to during a lot of my trials a few years back to take some of the events that I had off of my plate and put them on his. And we exchanged texts back and forth, and he knew a very little about all of the things that I was going through. So I'm really excited to get an opportunity to hear about his story and highlight his trials and tribulations. So buckle up, bitches. It's on. Let's go. All right, hey Warriors, listen up. We're on the back streets of Jackson Hole. Actually, I found a great spot. I'm here with Chef Clark to talk about Provisions JH. Hey, thanks, Chef.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on this. And this is the first time I've stepped into your kitchen. I love it.
Thank you.
It's a really great spot. So, before we dig deep for these warriors and these chefs, do you want to give me a little bit of, your backstory, this space, anything you can share?
Absolutely. I grew up in Southern California and played sports. School was never really my thing. Loved sports, loved competition, loved competing, loved being in intense environments, not necessarily in school. School didn't really work out for me. I ended up kind of testing out of high school when I was 18. The day I turned 18, I tested out and I started cooking. And I worked in national parks in southern Utah, in Big Sky, Montana, Lake Tahoe, moved around. Then I got a job in 2006 at Jenny Lake Lodge in Wyoming here. And once I got here, I didn't really want to move around and do the seasonal thing. I kind of wanted to stick here and see if I could do something here with that.
Yeah.
So I worked in national park for a lot of summers in a row and up at the resort, up at the top of the gondola for the winters. And I would kind of switch back and forth, working in the national park in the summers. And just on that grind, in the national park working, we would be there working 6 days a week on the line and kind of live, work, party, relax with everyone that you worked with. It was a great environment for team building, also slightly toxic because you could never really escape work. And I think that's
sort of an adult summer camp.
Exactly, an adult summer camp, yeah. And then after I kind of moved my way up, as I was garde manger there, worked at S.II, worked as a chef tournant, then took a sous chef position, had a little time, about a year, where I had to go back to California and kind of rehab a big knee injury that I got snowboarding. And then I came back as the executive chef of Jenny Lake Lodge and wrote all the menus and kind of ran that kitchen for 2 full years. And then after that, I was kind of done switching jobs between summer and winter. So I took an executive chef job at Gather, right on Pearl Street here in downtown Jackson, and worked there and kind of helped build that program, opened up another lunch restaurant for them as well as a catering company, and did that all the way until COVID. And then once COVID happened, kind of sat around, drank beers on the couch for 2 months, and then got pretty bored and started a little dinner delivery business with my good friend and partner, Chaz Baki. And we just started posting menus online and trying to give people food that they expected in a restaurant when they couldn't go out to a restaurant. And that was kind of how we started this business. And it's just slowly evolved from that. And now we're kind of a full-fledged catering company and bakery, and we do private chefs and kind of whatever the town needs in the food and beverage space.
Incredible.
And that's kind of how we got here, I guess.
Yeah. So in essence, your business was born because of the challenges of COVID.
Absolutely. And as terrible of a time it was for so many people, and a lot of bad things happened during that time, it was a little silver lining in that time, for us, because if it didn't happen, I probably would have still kind of been running other people's businesses and grinding until 11 p.m. on the line and expo and busy dinner services and stuff like that. And so it was definitely a blessing in disguise to kind of move out and put the pressure on myself and my partner to build something.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely. Well, that's great. Good story, especially for that time when there were nothing but bad stories throughout the news and all of these different outlets. So let's kind of dive right into it. Let's get deep. You've had a chance a little bit to kind of see the mission, the warrior mission that we're starting, and I want you to share with the warriors sort of your tale of the chef and what just maybe lessons that you've learned, or something to help them get through their get through the weeds, if you will, right?
Yeah, I mean, and being in the weeds, like you say, and I love how you use that term. You can be mentally in the weeds, you can be physically in the weeds, you can be in the weeds in a prep list, or just in the weeds mentally of how you're organizing your week, your year, your day, and for so long, I had the mentality of, let's just grind through it. Let's just grind through it, get through it, whatever. There's always gonna be a slow little shoulder season, that we can get to, and then we can take a breath. I've realized that's not sustainable. I think one of the really big parts about being a chef is empowering your staff and really making them feel like they have the power to make certain decisions, and they feel the freedom that they can make decisions, because in the long run, if you can empower your chefs and if you can empower your crew to make those decisions and feel the freedom and the accountability of being able to make those decisions without someone coming down on them for every little thing that they say, because a lot of chefs, and I do it as well, and I've tried to move on from it, you micromanage, right? But then if you do that enough, people don't really want to make any decisions without asking you everything, but that's not sustainable for growing a business. That's not sustainable for having time at home with your family. That's not sustainable for having any life outside these walls.
Right.
And so I've really focused on that, of just trying to build teams and trying to build people that feel empowered and want to be around, and they want to be around me as a leader and our company, and they want to push towards our goals just as much, because once you have a good team, it takes some pressure off you.
Yeah,
because so many chefs are like, and I was that guy, you come in, big prep list, I take on the most things on the prep list, but then there's so many other things lacking. I couldn't put together the right schedule, and then because I was in there grinding on the prep list in the kitchen all day from 10 a.m. until service started, I didn't put together a great schedule, I missed some things on the order, and then it just causes more problems down the road, and you're constantly swimming upstream.
Yeah.
And so one of the big things that I just stand behind is just building a team and finding people and empowering people to really be independent in their roles with you.
Yeah, and I love that perception. Seeing it through that lens, and having another chef like yourself that's grown a really successful business here in Jackson, it's nice to have that reassurance.
Absolutely.
That's the way, no matter how much you or I love to stand behind the saute pan and give it a flip or chop up, because we have that the creative and the competitive mind. It's everything but that builds the good business.
Absolutely. And builds the longevity of it,
right.
Because so many people and people I love and hold so dear in this industry, there's kind of two roads that you go. You kind of figure out how to make it sustainable, and you figure out kind of how to make a life out of it and make it a sustainable thing for something that could be your lifelong career, or you can go down the other way just as easy and just constantly keeping your head up above water and feeling like there's no out.
Yeah, and so listen, Warriors, that's exactly what all of this is about. It's about taking all of you misfits out there and making that a better plate, changing that lifestyle, changing that mindset, knowing that, Chef Clark and myself have been through the shits. We've been through the weeds, and well, fuck, we still do that. Yeah. There's no question about that.
More controlled.
More controlled.
Yeah,
more controlled and more intentional. So that's what it's all about. How have you had personal relationships in the past that have suffered because of this?
Absolutely.
And do you, what sort of vulnerability do you want to share around that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had multiple relationships that were great relationships in my life that suffered and failed because this came number one.
Yeah.
Everything in the kitchen, that was at the top of my mind. Everything that I had to do and it was because of bad organization and because I would try to do everything myself, and everything else would suffer. I'm not saying that this is not a very important job, but it's not everything.
Right.
And that's something that lack of a better term, I try to preach, is that this is not everything. Hey, everyone grinds, everyone works hard, but enjoy yourself when you're not in the kitchen and try not to think about it. And it's really hard as a chef because you're constantly thinking about what you got coming the next day. If that order is going to show up, is that truck going to be late? Is it here in Jackson? Is that truck going to get stuck in the snow? And am I going to need to go buy 300 people's worth of events food from the grocery stores? Yeah. And you're constantly. But if you think about all that stuff, sometimes you just kind of have to organize yourself as much as you possibly can and then let things happen. It's an overwhelming business at times, no matter how good you are at it. Mm-hmm. And I think the balance there is trying to balance those things that are overwhelming and whether they're worth it or not, And that's the conversations you have with staff, that's the conversations you have with purveyors, that's the conversations you have with clients. Are some things going to be just an insane amount of stress and they don't pay out, whether it's monetarily or they just don't pay out it's not the best thing for your team and it's not the best thing for your business. And that's something that constantly trying to get better at, to create a healthy environment for myself, for my family, so I can still have time with my baby boy and my wife, and my staff can also have time for their families. And that's something, that's super important. And things have gone way wrong, and I've blown up a lot of relationships in my life in the past because of just full entrenchment into this world. I've just been fully entrenched in everything that's going on and not thinking about anything else other than my drive to the kitchen, where I'm going through every conversation I'm going to have, everything I have to do when I walk in. But it didn't leave much else.
Right. We thrive on control. We infatuate ourselves with situations that 9 times out of 10 we have no control over anyway. Yep. So to be able to be in a space with Chef Clark here in Jackson where we release all that control. Small business is tough enough. Right. And you're right, my relationships have drastically suffered because of that.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help for me. My escape was and hasn't been. I actually haven't had a drink for 3 months, which is like something.
For you,
thank
man,
you. Which
nice.
is something that I'm really working on because, and I was never like the drunk chef. Never someone that was, getting drunk at work or really. I tried not to get drunk at all, but everything in this business, whether you have an amazing event and everyone's celebrating, you have a couple cocktails to celebrate. Whether it was a shitty day and everything went wrong, you probably have 4 commiserating it. And that was a cycle that is constantly in, and something that I think needs to be broken away from in this business, because you're always looking for an escape. Everything is so stressful, and that was my escape, was alcohol. And trying to get up in the morning, whether you've had, whether you've had 2 margaritas after work or 4 beers, you're a little more antsy in the morning. You're a little more agitated by every little thing that happens,
right.
And you don't have a clear mind to then make your life easier when you're at work. You're just you're just swimming upriver, trying to get to that next time where you can say, all right, everybody have a good night, and you pop open that next beer. You pour yourself that next cocktail because you got through another day. And I found myself in a cycle of that. And at first it was just fun. Working in restaurants, it's like, that's the camaraderie. You finished a busy service, you did 300 covers, everyone goes out and has drinks. then you come in and you feel like shit trying to knock out the prep that you totally depleted the night before because you were so busy. You celebrated it, but then you're causing yourself a worse day the next day. And so that's something that I think needs to be talked about, and it is talked about, but needs to be talked about more, is that there's healthy escapes for things like that, you know?
Exactly.
Like, I found just waking up in the morning, having my coffee and going for walks is so much better than having a bunch of cocktails at night. And then waking up groggy and just drinking the coffee to get all that out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, you know, you've heard it here from Chef directly. This is a white-knuckle business. This business is not for the faint of heart. But yet, we all have hearts. And we should all come together in camaraderie, not competition.
Absolutely.
We've always come together in competition. You know? Put down this phone that we're taking the podcast on right now, and him and I could take on each other over there, but that's not what this is about. That's Warriors. This is about those of you that don't feel as though you have a space or a home or an environment or a situation that you're spiraling in. Hopefully this gives you an opportunity to reconnect with other chefs in the business on all levels.
Like you said, I think the camaraderie is so huge wherever you are, whatever city you're in. You know, you're not, a lot of times in this business, it feels like you're the only one. Yeah. You're the only one going through it. But you walk in the back door of any of these busy restaurants, wherever you are, whatever city you're in, and there's so many other chefs that are going through it. And I think having that camaraderie and finding like-minded individuals to bounce things off of and building that community is so important. I'm lucky enough, and you are too, Chef, we've been here for a while, so we have that camaraderie, you know. And I would give the advice to people that are moving to a new town, moving into new positions, to try to find like-minded individuals, because there's a lot of them now. Yeah. Now more than ever, I feel like the business is slowly, the toxicity of the business is slowly declining, you know. And whether it's COVID that made that happen, to make people realize, hey, you don't need to work 80 hours a week. You know, you can be more efficient. You can still have a life outside these walls, outside these fluorescent lights, you know. Yeah. And that's so important, and that's what will keep you going.
Yeah. This conversation today has really opened my eyes to fellow chef in the area, his stories, his challenges, and I'm really grateful for this, man.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. I think it's important that chefs talk, whether it's on camera or whether it's sitting on a milk crate behind your kitchen. Exactly. I think it's so important to just have those conversations and not always be about, hey, I gotta suck this cigarette down and get back in there because I got 12 tickets hanging, you know? It's
exactly.
And that's what it is sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
But it also can be having a bite to eat or going out to lunch and just talking about the issues that you encounter and finding people that you can talk about those things with and bouncing them off, whether it's professionals or whether it's people in the industry or whether it's someone that you just need to talk to in therapy or something like that. I think it's so important. And I don't think it's something that should be taboo anymore.
No.
You know, so many chefs hold everything so tight, you know, whether it's their recipes, then that turns into their menu items that they don't want to talk about because they feel exclusivity to them. Then that turns into their emotions, not wanting to talk about their emotions. And then you just become like a closed off book. You know, you can't be like that with your employees. You shouldn't be like that with your friends. You shouldn't be like that with your family. But if you're not careful, this business kind of turns you into someone that's pretty closed off.
Well, cool, man. I think that feels like a wrap.
Cool. Sweet.
So I appreciate you and
Absolutely.
your business and everything that you've brought to the table here in Jackson. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you love. Give your little boy a hug, a little tighter.
Yeah.
You know, he seems little enough, maybe not too tight, you know, but
He's pretty tough.
Okay, all right, good.
He's already starting to wrestle and stuff.
Yeah, good, man. Awesome. Well, you heard it here. Warriors, get after it. Timer's up. We're out. Till another time.